Hello everybody, this is Carmen with Elemental Designs, and today I'm going to be showing you guys an art journal page that I created. This is going to have some collaging items in it, and more so than anything I wanted to try out some of the new products that I received from Decoart. So here you see me spreading out some gesso over the page. This is a sketchbook. It's not really designed for mixed media, but with some gesso it actually prepares the pages so that I can go ahead and use some wet mediums, and it protects the paper from breaking. So I'm gonna apply, I have applied this and I'm gonna let it dry. And here you see me just grabbing some Tim Holtz tissue paper, and I'm just gonna kind of cut this up into small pieces so that I can go ahead and just glue these on for some background element. And I'm gonna be applying this with some Decoupage in Satin. And this is one of their glues that they have, which are great for adhering paper, napkins, and things like that nature. And here again I'm applying it with a little plastic spatula, and you're also going to see me use just different things to kind of spread it out. I use one of those painter spatulas as well, the ones that you use to like do home repairs. And then you'll also see me kind of use a card. Out of all of the things that I use, the card is actually my favorite tool to use to apply papers and napkins, because it really does a really good job of removing all air bubbles and spreading out that glue under the paper very well. It is my preferred method actually for spreading most things, but here I just wanted to do a little bit of testing because I just got these little spatulas, so I wanted to see how I can use them and what I can use them for as far as applying. But overall you'll see me kind of put the glue with one and then just go ahead and apply the rest of the glue and spread the paper with a card. And any kind of credit card or gift card or any of these plastic cards that sometimes you get in the mail, it's kind of like junk mail, will work well for this. You could also cut these up into smaller pieces if you need to apply in smaller areas. And what's awesome is that this dries really fast. And here I'm using one of my new stencils that I received. Is from the Andy Skinner line from Decoart, and it is called Distressed Digits, I believe. I have a video where I show all of these items. If you would like to check that out, I will list it down below. And this is their black modeling paste. And here I'm just removing some of the excess, but I didn't like the way it looked, so I ended up actually cleaning it off. And that's the great thing about protecting your surfaces with like decoupage or even your matte mediums, that you're able to just go over with a baby wipe, and if you don't let it set too long, you can go ahead and just clean it off. And you can see also here how easy it is to just remove while it's still wet, how easy it is to just kind of clean off your stencils. I didn't really have too much problem applying the gesso, not the gesso, I'm sorry, the medium with the spatula. But if you want a little bit more control, a card, the same kind of card that I was using prior, is also a great tool to do this. I've dried this. Every new stencil or every new medium that I incorporate into this art journal page, prior to using it, I make sure that I go ahead and just heat blast it real quick with a heating tool. This is a clear modeling paste, but you'll see all the details kind of come to life after I've dried it and start applying some of the other mediums that I'm going to be applying on this. I'm going to be using a new ink spray that I received from Decoart. It's like a lime green color, and it's very pretty. And you'll also see me incorporate some of the other inks that I have as well, some of the other ink sprays that I have as well. These are all part of their media line, which can be found at Decoart and in some of your local art stores, arts and crafts stores. And the stencil that I just used is called Snake's Web. and everything has been dry. And here you see me applying. I'm gonna list the products that I use down below, but here you see me applying some of those sprays just in different colors. And I use the lime green, I use this very pretty kind of violet color, and also yellow and white, and these do dry permanent, but you can go ahead and move them around with a little bit of water while they're in their wet state, just to create different effects. And I just love how these kind of catch all the different little grooves of the stencils, and you really start seeing these stencils kind of come to life. And this is the reason why I apply gesso to my pages, because regular sketch paper could not hold or withstand you spraying water and all different kinds of paints on them. So this is the reason why I always make sure that I prep my pages first. Although I do believe that I did go a little overboard with wetting this page down, because at some points I did get some of the modeling paste that I laid down kind of lifting a little bit after I heat set it. But that kind of happens, you know, sometimes. It's, you know, it's not that big of a deal, but yeah, I did get a little bit of lifting here and there from after I applied all these different sprays. And here again, I'm just sealing the page so that I can make sure that these colors that I have already set down are protected. And here you see some collage elements. This is a picture actually of Lady Gaga that I got from a magazine, and she starts this way, but she does not end up this way. I was kind of stumped for a while. This is something that's kind of new to me, so I wasn't really sure how to go with it. I know I didn't want to keep her face as was. I didn't really want her to be recognizable, if you will. And those are some the corset. I printed out 2 different sizes just to see which size was going to fit best for, you know, the shape that she already is in, the size that she's in. And I end up trying to kind of alter that to see, you know, more or less how I can make it fit and look somewhat normal. These are all free printables that I searched for online. And I got these from royalty free places. And here are some steampunk style wings that I'm going to be incorporating into this piece. And you see me more or less fuzzy cutting all of this out. Sorry about that, you guys, but I'm still sick. So I was gonna use some images from that page, but I decided not to. I didn't really like the colors, and they didn't go well with my page. So here you see me kind of just figuring out exactly where and how I want these wings to kind of lay. So the first thing I do is go ahead and you know, Mod Podge those wings down and just use my card to just kind of make sure that they're nice and set, and everything is glued properly. And again, the same thing with her, and just making sure that I apply glue everywhere. And it's always a good idea to apply less glue than more glue, because the more glue you have under the paper, especially with magazines, the more bubbles and just things you're gonna have. Now this is the back of the paper where she was at, the back of the magazine cutout, and I really like the eyes that I saw, and they really called my attention. And once I put those eyes in there, it kind of changed the whole thing for me. So then I started trying to figure out, okay, what I'm gonna do now that I've added these eyes. I kind of got myself stuck. And I have some collage pieces in the back that I just have there just in case I want to do something really quick. So it kind of changed her whole face at that point in time. It gave her like these cat eyes, which kind of started it all. And as you see here, I kind of went and opted for the smaller corset. So that's what you see me applying here. Because I did, from the original file, I kind of made one smaller. You know, you manipulate the images to make them as large or as small as you like or need. So that's pretty much what I did. Here I'm applying some gesso because I know that I'm going to be doing some kind of painting. I know that I'm going to be doing something to this image, just not to leave it the way that it is. So here you kind of see me applying some gesso just to her shirt area because she was wearing like a blouse, and to the skirt as well, because I knew I wasn't going to keep it that way, and I knew I was going to want to either paint on it or draw on it or do something to it. So that's more or less what you see me doing here, and this is just applying some gesso and a little bit of water that I have on the side. So I kind of just make sure that I dilute that just a little bit. Well, for some instances I diluted it, for others I just applied it straight as it was. And again, I applied the gesso all over her face so that I can kind of blend those eyes in with her face, so that it looks like it's just one, you know, like they belong there. I try to make sure not to cover her lips and or her nose too much so that I know where those belong on her face, so that I keep her proportions at least somewhat accurate. And this is some diluted gesso because I still wanted to be able to see some of those lines in the background. And here, these are just some Faber-Castell pit pens or pit markers, and some flesh tones that I started applying, but I didn't really like the way that it looked over the gesso. So then I end up actually switching this off for something a little bit different. I end up actually going into it with some paint. I really didn't like the way that looked overall. And that's when I kind of got stuck, like, okay, what am I going to do now? Because I've totally destroyed this girl's face, and what am I going to do now? How am I going to fix this? What am I going to do to repair this? And here I just gave her some long hair. And again, just more or less just giving myself indications of where I want certain things to be. And you're going to see me kind of use all different kinds of markers to try to achieve the look that I was kind of going for. But overall, it's just about playing with your images, and just trying different things, incorporating different things if you're trying to do collaging. This is something that is completely new to me. So here I am kind of adding some eyelashes and just trying to go into some of the details, and again, still trying to work with these markers and hoping that the situation works itself out. But at the end of the day, I just wasn't really happy. And that's what's great about art journaling, mixed media, all these kinds of art projects, that you can always go ahead and just do something different over whatever you did. And if you have gesso or anything like that, and it's really that bad of a situation that you really don't like it, then you can always start over just by applying a layer of gesso, and then just picking up from there. So here I just kind of went over the details. This is like a metallic blue marker. It's like one of those cheap ones that you get from like the dollar stores. And here I'm just going over some details, but again, all of this stuff is going to be subject to somewhat change in the course of this. As the evolution of your art kind of starts taking place and things start to kind of switch up, you end up going in all different kinds of directions. And this is pretty much what this is. This is my first attempt, but I do switch up a little bit in the design and the style overall. So this is just me kind of thinking, okay, I'm just going to doodle all over this and just see what happens and see what takes place. Testing out her face to see if everything was dry. For those of you that are aware of the pit markers, or even though you're not aware, the pit markers are in the ink and they're very permanent. Once they dry, they're kind of removable. So that's why I was kind of testing out her face. Here I'm just trying different things and just seeing what kind of works for me, and just doodling and just scribbling all over the skirt to give it some texture, to give it some, you know, some identity, if you will. So I'm just kind of going through all of these different just techniques and just trying different things. The awesome thing is that this is for my personal use, so this won't be going to anybody. So how cute or how ugly it comes out, I'm perfectly okay with, because after this process, nobody's going to really see it. It's going to be in my art journal. So here I'm just adding some straps to this corset. And again, just kind of looking around and just seeing, okay, what needs something, what doesn't. It's all about how, you know, how it feels to you. And I'm still going into it and just, at this point in time, I'm kind of lost, to be honest with you. I'm kind of trying to figure this whole thing out. Like, what am I going to do here? I'm just kind of stumped. And then I kind of decide to give her like this cat face. This took me quite some time to actually get together all the way through and through. So now you see me kind of going into it with some acrylic paints, and I used all different kinds of like skin tone type colors. and white, and just kind of started going into it. And the more I went into it, the more she looked more like a cat to me. So I kind of started feeling like, okay, maybe this is the direction that I need to go. And so I just kind of started giving her like these cat features. I changed her nose up. I kind of gave her like, you know, the cat look, if you will. I added whiskers and all different kinds of things to her face to kind of make her look more like a cat. And kept her with the skin tone color, but added the white to just kind of give her some separations in the face, to make it look more realistic, if you will. And this is like the first time that I've actually done like an animal person type of image. I usually don't go for those. Whimsical is not really my thing per se. I do like it, and I do like watching others create them, and I do feel inspired, but for some reason they just never really come out for me, you know, that way. So this is definitely something new. And here again, you just see me kind of playing with the hair, just adding different things to the hair, and just trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. And I actually end up covering most of her shirt. I end up painting most of it and just changing her whole aesthetic overall. Here I am adding some whiskers and just playing with that hair and with markers and just all different kinds of things, just to try to get the look that I was going for. And I didn't like all that white on there, so I end up actually reducing some of the white on her face and just kind of giving her a more shaped kind of look, making the bands, where the white bands that I made from her forehead down, you know, across her face, just a little bit more narrower, making her eyes really stand out. Here I'm adding some highlights to her nose and just playing with highlights just to see what kind of works, and adding and removing, just so that it feels kind of right. And just overall playing and having fun. This was actually more of just a playtime for the new mediums and the new paints that I received from Decoart, and it just turned into a full-on art journal session. But initially that was not the goal. I just wanted to do some stenciling and just wanted to do some, you know, some background work, you know, so creating a background page for further use, you know, for future use. But I liked it. I liked the way it looks so much, with all of the webbing and the digits and everything, that I decided just to go ahead and do it now. Here I gave her some ears, and here you just kind of see me playing with the ears and just trying to figure out, you know, highlights and so on and so forth. Sometimes these colors did blend for me, which created like this muddy look that I wasn't really too happy about. So then you'll see me kind of go back into it after it's all dry. And some things I did off camera, because I kept going back and forth. So I didn't capture every single detail of how I did it all, even towards the very end, because again, I kept giving up and then kept coming back to it, because I just couldn't let it go. I was like, I've got this far, I gotta finish it now. So that's pretty much what you see me doing here, just giving her, just putting in the little details here and there, the little lines, little shadow places, and just all different kinds of different little elements. Here I go back into the hair again with a marker, to bring that color back in there. I added a tail for her, which I think she could have done without, to be honest with you. I started it one way, and then I end up actually extending it a little bit further out. And I'm going to go over that with white and just again start playing with all the different mediums, just to see, you know, what feels right. And that's pretty much what this is. This is about experimenting. That's what art journals are for. They're for experimenting with your paints and your markers and just all different kinds of things. And any old book will do, any kind of book actually will do, that you no longer need. So you don't have to go out and buy yourself a sketchbook or a mixed media book or even a watercolor book for that matter. If you can make yourself some homemade gesso, then you're pretty much good to go with any kind of book that you find. Even magazines work as long as you prime them. And you can practice pretty much all different kinds of skills, if you will. I gave her like a bushy kind of tail at the end, because again, I wasn't just like, I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do here? I wasn't really quite sure. I'm not sure about a lot of the things that I do. Somehow they just manage to end up working. I just think it's dumb luck for the most part, and just my tenacity and the fact that I don't give up so easy. But overall, I was like so lost. This is so out of my comfort zone, you guys. Like, you have no idea. It's so out of my comfort zone, collaging. I usually draw everything myself, and I'm not the best artist at that. I'm nowhere near the best artist at that. I just play around with stuff until it just feels kind of right. But these kinds of things, like these kinds of, you know, creatures, if you will, they're just really not my forte. Whimsical things are really not my forte. Even drawing whimsical things don't come out so well for me. So this is why I'm practicing more and more, just to, you know, get to a level of comfort where I feel okay with just, you know, creating all different kinds of things, and also expanding the, you know, the mental palette, right? The creativity aspect of it, because you never know what you can do until you do it. So that's my motto. So I try to do a little bit of everything just to see if it works, if it doesn't work. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but it's all playtime at the end of the day. And now I've actually reduced, because the sleeve on the blouse was so large. I mean, I know she didn't have such big puffy arms, right? She looked swollen. So I went ahead and grabbed some of the same ink spray that I was using earlier, and just kind of started to, you know, blend out some of those areas that I removed by just, you know, tracing out. And now it looks like it's all, her arm looks a little bit better. It looks a little bit more, you know, decent. And here I'm just adding some of the ink sprays and just creating a little bit of shadow area around her, around the wings, around everything, just to make her stand out a little bit more from the background. And this is why I kept I kept some of the elements a little bit on the lighter sides, because the background was so busy. It just has so many bold colors that I wanted to keep her somewhat lighter. Her whole look will change by the time that this thing is done, because I'm just playing around right now and just trying to figure out how I want things to kind of go. So here I'm just kind of applying it, and then with a baby wipe just kind of you know, thinning it out somewhat. And not a wet wipe, I think it was a little bit on the drier side. So let's see here, what am I doing? I think I'm cleaning my brushes. Yes, that's what I was doing. I was cleaning my brushes. So again, just trying all different kinds of things. Just completely in a fog, in a maze, if you will. And here, this is one of the new metallic lusters. Dazzling metallic lust. Is it dazzling metallic? No, not dazzling. I'm sorry, that's the wrong product. Metallic luster is the right product. The other product that I was naming is their paint. This is their wax, which is water soluble and can be applied to all different kinds of surfaces. And I really like the color. It's so pretty. So I end up going into it with this, and this is a green color. Let me see. It is lavish green, and it's like a lime green that I thought will go well with just everything that I had going on. But I didn't want it to blend in too much, so then I also go to this with a rich espresso, which is like their brown version, their version of brown. I'm just adding just darker little elements here and there, just to make some of the features of the wings kind of stand out a little bit. And overall, you know, just not having it blend in so much with the rest of the background. So all you have to do is kind of just wet your brush a little bit, and this is pretty much what I did. I dipped my brush in a little bit of water that I have on the side. Sorry about that. People are always in a rush to go somewhere. And then I just go into it and just apply it like if I was applying paint or watercolor or something of that nature. And that's what's great about these products. They are so versatile. Even when you think that they no longer can give you something because they're either dried out or they resemble chalk, which I don't have any to do that, but I've heard that they can you know, get really dry, you can always reconstitute them with some water, which is what's awesome about this product. A little bit of water, maybe you want to seal it in a Ziploc bag, or put some saran wrap or something like that, some cling wrap around it, and you should be good to go in no time. And you can always use it as watercolor if all else fails. So here now I am kind of extending her look, and again just continuing to play with how she looks. I've gone over it at this point with some marker. I went into it with the blue marker and just kind of painted all over the whole skirt with the blue marker to make it one long skirt as opposed to 2 different pieces. And here I'm adding some detail with a fine tip black marker, and this is again from Faber-Castell. This is one of their brush tips, but in the small, and just adding just different little elements to it to make it kind of stand out. By the time that this video is done, towards the end, you're going to see me kind of show you what the final look is after I've added the sentiments and or phrase to the other page. And you'll notice that she has little spots, because she reminded me, I don't know if you guys have ever seen, well, maybe I'm like super dating myself, but they had these cartoons back in the 80s, I believe, the Thundercats. And there was one character who I always claimed to be, which is the cheetah girl, who had all the little spots all over her her arm and just everywhere, and she was like the fastest one out of all of them. She was always running all over the place, and so she kind of reminded me of her in some way. So I ended up giving her some spots, so she ends up with spots later on, but you won't see me actually applying the spots. But I did go ahead and use the Faber-Castell pen to apply her spots, and the color that I ended up using, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was it just says medium flesh 131. That's the color that I ended up kind of going over and just giving her some spots on her arms, because I just didn't want her skin to look so plain. So I wanted to give her a little something extra. And again, it's just about playing. Now I'm going over all the details again, but the details have now changed because I forgot how I had my lines. So yeah, I've gone ahead and give her complete skin tone, extended the white area from her face down, going across her chest. So it just gives you the illusion of a cat, where, you know, the bellies are usually like a certain color and then the rest of them is a different color. So that's kind of how I did that with her. And then the wings, I don't know, she's a steampunk cat girl and she flies. So yeah, here I just added some squiggly lines with the blue marker, again just incorporating some of that blue in there. It's a really pretty color when you see it up close because it's very metallic and shiny. And here, these are the words that I kind of used for this piece, and it says, dare to be different, if you have wings, use them, which is pretty much the only thing I could think of when it came to adding a sentiment to this page here. And here you see me kind of just going over them, trying to make them stand out a little bit, but I actually end up blending them in. Unfortunately, I end up blending them in because I apply too much of the same ink spray that I used on the background, and then it kind of goes over all of them, and I try to wipe it off, but it didn't work out so well. And here you see me kind of just adding a little bit of that, so that I can kind of hide some of those little white borders, but it didn't work so well for me. But at the end of the day, it's still, I still like the page. I still think it came out pretty good. And I will definitely do it again, but I think everything that you do teaches you something. You learn something new about yourself and about the things that you're doing. So now I know, don't put so much of the spray when you're trying to do that, or use something completely different. So yeah, and here I'm just using some white to kind of outline them, and now bring the white that I was trying to remove from the first place, bring that white right back in there. And just trying it overall again. At the end, you'll see that I kind of went over these letters. You won't see me do it, but I went over the letters again with the blue marker just to bring them back out from the background. and to you know, give them that shine back, because they lost that shine once I kind of did that. And here you see me now applying some stenciling, but now I'm applying it with some paint directly, and I'm going to be using some of the white paint and some of the black paint just to give a little areas of interest, and just change up the background just a little bit. And once I did this is kind of what inspired me to give her spots, because I'm like, huh, you know, it kind of brought the whole Thundercats thing to my head. And if you guys don't know what that is, Google it. But it was one of my favorite shows when I was little. So here I'm again just applying some of that snake web, and I really like this stencil. I think I can pretty much use it for all different kinds of things, from, you know, underwater type of scenes to just, you know, adding them to background. So I really do like this. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you have enjoyed this video. Let me know in the description down below what you guys thought, and if you have any suggestions for any future videos coming up. And yes, you guys, thank you so much, and thank you Decoart for all these products. They're really fun to work with and play with. And if you guys see them in your local stores, be sure to pick them up. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. Thank you guys. Bye.